straight off the bat, I believe these headphones are better than the XM4s and are better than the AirPod Maxes, with a caveat. And also, there is one thing that lets them down. Now, I've had the Sony WH-1000XM5's, silly name, for the last couple of weeks now, and I've been using them across my iPhone and my Pixel, my Mac, and a few other devices. So here are my thoughts on these new headphones from the perspective from someone who isn't an audiophile per se, but does still appreciate good audio quality. And of course, whether you are, an iPhone or an Android user, then I've got both of you covered here. So firstly, let's talk about the new design, because whilst I've heard some reviewers say they don't like this, I actually really like this new design. Now, firstly, we've got a totally noiseless design, so it doesn't matter how you hold them or twist them or anything with these headphones. They're pretty silent. Now, comparing this, of course, to other over-ear headphones like the XM4s and the AirPod Maxes, of course, they just all creak and click as you use them. It's kind of like a small but a really nice thing for them to consider. Now, we've also, of course, got the all-new design that is totally different to the XM4's, like foldable design. Now, with these, probably more similar to the AirPod Max's, like non-foldable design, but I just love how sleek these things look. Now, there is one thing that might annoy some people. Of where you wear the headphones around your neck like this, they'll only actually fold flat one way, like this way around, which is where the ear cups face outwards. Now, they still do sit neatly when you fold them inwards, which I personally don't have any problems with, but I know some people would have liked them to fold the full 90 degrees all the way in to have like the ear cups on the inside, very similar to on the outside. But instead, I like this way. I don't think there's any problems with it. On the head, you've got a relatively thin piece of foam across the top here, and then on the sides, it stops there because these sides are solid, because that's where the actual, the ear cups kind of slide into and retract into. But because of that, you actually get less support when you actually wear these headphones on the head, like something like the AirPod Maxes, which have this much wider mesh, which, just wraps around your head. Now, with the XM5s, you get just this small area on top of your head, which is kind of like here, and then of course the ear cups, which keep the headphones in place. And for me, this does actually mean that these can feel a little bit uncomfortable after a long session of wearing them. I think the band just needs to be either thicker or maybe a bit wider to just spread that surface area where it rests on your head. But I definitely prefer the fit of the mesh band that you get on the AirPod Maxes over what these do, as that does just provide more like overall support. It's not it's not a major issue, but if you are looking for some headphones where you can wear, any longer than a commute, maybe all day whilst you're working, then these just might not be the most comfortable choice. Something else that's all new on the XM5s also is the case, of course. Now, this is also quite polarizing from what I've seen of other reviews, but I love this new design. Because the headphones themselves don't fold down, that of course means a slightly bigger case. But the thing that really annoyed me with the XM4 case was that I would never ever open the case up the right way around. It's kind of like the USB thing where you just plug it and eventually it works. And if you open up the case the wrong way around, you'd end up tipping all of the accessories like the audio cord, the charging cable, the airline adapter, all out of the case. Well, they've actually fixed that because this new case only really sits one way around, because that's got a flat bottom on with the seam on the top on the way up, of course. Now, once you do open this up, they've got this new magnetized compartment for all of those accessories. So even if you did open it the wrong way up, for whatever reason, they're still not going to come out. Really good feature there. Now, there's also a few seams around this case, which makes it kind of look like the case might collapse flat. And it does, kind of, but only if you take out this inner section, and then you can kind of collapse it flat. But you wouldn't really do this, of course, as the headphones wouldn't then sit in there properly. So that's still a bit strange. However, let's talk about how these headphones work across both iPhone and Android devices. And then I'm going to cover how these perform independently on each of those devices separately in just a moment. So you've got 30 hours of battery life with active noise cancellation on. Very good. There's also a USB-C charger on the side and a proper headphone jack port. Thank you very much, Sony. And if you're really in a pinch, you can charge these headphones for just 3 minutes to get an extra 3 hours of playback, which is pretty insane. Noise cancellation, of course, is the flagship feature here on the XM5s, and they are by far the very best in active noise cancellation. Better than the XM4s, better than any Apple headphones they sell. And so if you are just looking for a pair of headphones, maybe for travel, for use in noisy spaces, and want the best and quietest experience, then the XM5s are hands down the absolute winner in this department. Now, where the headphones aren't the winner though is their ambient sound or transparency mode, which some people call it, where at the push of a button, or you kind of hold your hand up here, you can hear the world around you, maybe speak to someone, or maybe listen for traffic or a baby crying. They are still good at letting the noise through when you want them to, but they're no comparison, I feel, to the AirPod Maxes, which just make everything sound so much more naturally sounding. And in busy environments, I found myself taking these headphones off to speak to somebody, whereas I try to keep the AirPod Maxes on, though I kind of still feel it's a bit rude to wear a pair of headphones on your head when you're talking to someone. Actually, I'd love to know, do you think it's rude? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, control-wise, we have touch controls on the right ear cup only. There's nothing on the left at all other than the actual manual power buttons for power, pairing, and switching noise cancellation modes. On the right, however, you can double tap to play or pause. You can swipe up and down for volume, and if you hold your fingers there, it will actually continue changing the volume, so you don't have to then look like an idiot going like swiping up to try and get the volume up or down to turn it down. You've also got forward and backwards to skip tracks. You can hold your hand up quickly to hear someone or like listen to an announcement, which will then fade the music so it's barely audible and actually enables transparency mode very, very quickly. 2 fingers to enable or disable speak to chat. Really useful if you like singing to the tracks. Similar controls whilst you're on a phone call. Oh, and you can also tap the power button to hear how much charge you have left on the headphones themselves. So the app itself, actually, I really like this, mainly because you can actually sync the app across devices. So if you're using, weirdly like me, iPhone and Android, you can set up the headphones once and then just sign in and bring the whole profile across to that other device as well. And the app works well for what it does. And you can also configure the adaptive sound controls operation depending on the activity you're doing. So if you're sitting, if you're walking, if you're running, or if you're on transport. These are all pretty nice. You can also enable some intelligent features like remembering the settings you use when at specific locations. So if you use these at work, for example, then you could tweak the settings to let in as much or maybe as little noise as you wish. And that's something that's great about the ambient sound control here, because once you're in ambient sound control, you can dial the ambient sound all the way from 0 through to 20, which then lets in more or less outside sound. And you can also tell this to focus on voices only, so you can still let in a certain amount of voices only without all the rest of the background noises, which all works pretty great. You've also got the option to switch on speak to chat, which will quickly let you hear others as soon as it kind of hears you speak, because it thinks you're talking to someone. And I will say that this is better on the XM5s than the XM4s. A few times on the XM4s, I just cough, not with that, but cough, and the headphones would then immediately open up for like 30 seconds or so, thinking I was talking when I obviously wasn't. So no problem here on the XM5s. There's also an EQ here that you can use to really tailor these headphones to your own preference, whether you want a like thumping bass, richer top end, or a bit of a flatter EQ response. Now, one of the first things I do with a pair of headphones is to sit there for like an hour or so, just tweaking the EQ. I'm a drummer, so I like feeling like the kick drum, but I also like hearing the high ends of the hi-hats and the cymbals. Plus, I also find that if you tweak the higher frequencies, you tend to uncover things in the music that you've like never heard of before, like hidden guitars, hidden pianos, things like that can easily get hidden in the wall of like muddy sound in some tracks. So I bumped up the clear bass by +3, and then bumped up the 1K and 6.3K by +1, bumped up 16K by +4, and then reduced 2.5K by -1. And that for me just gives a really nice listening experience for most audio tracks. Now again, this will be very dependent on what your preferences are, whether you're listening to spoken word or rock, pop, classical. Now I listen to quite a wide range of stuff, and I've just found those settings work really well for me. Now the XM5s also have a feature known as multi-point Bluetooth, I think they call it. And this basically lets them actively connect and play audio from 2 devices at once, which can be a great feature if you're, say, playing a game on your PC and then taking a call on your phone, or without having to take your headphones off. Though a feature you do lose if you enable this is it will actually lose the high quality audio support like AAC and LDAC. And once this is enabled, you can also go to the statuses tab here to control which 2 devices you want to specifically connect to. Now there are also these quick access settings here on the system page, one of which you can set up for something called Spotify Tap, which means you just pop the headphones on, tap the buttons on the side twice, and this will immediately resume whatever you were playing from Spotify. That's a really neat feature. I am currently running a giveaway on this channel for one of these. It's an iPhone 13 Pro in graphite, the 256 gig model, and all you need to do to enter this worldwide giveaway is to let me know in the comments down below, what piece of tech are you looking forward to buying this year? That is literally it. I'm going to post a video to announce the winner as soon as we hit 50,000 subscribers. So pop your comments down below and wait to see that video where I'll announce the winner of this iPhone brand new 13 256 gig model in graphite. Whew, that is a mouthful. Best of luck to everybody entering. Now let's crack on with the actual video. Now over to the differences now when using these headphones on either an iPhone instead of an Android. And with iPhone, you get the options for an Amazon Voice Assistant, or you can use Siri, but you can't use your voice to trigger Siri. You'll always have to hold the headphones to trigger it, or have your phone nearby so that your phone or Mac or iPad picks up those voice triggers. And using Alexa means that you are fairly restricted in terms of what the voice assistant can actually do for you when interacting with your actual phone. So if you want to send messages, like hear notifications and interact with your actual phone, then Siri is going to be the best option here. Now with the Amazon Assistant, you can of course do all of the things that Amazon Assistant normally does for you, like ask it questions, play some music, which it does to play via Spotify at least, which is better than Apple Music in my opinion. But you can't ask it to send messages or read out messages or other notifications on your phone, and so the assistant is quite limited in that respect. So you either choose to use Siri but have to keep your Apple device close to you to trigger the assistant, or use Amazon's assistant to get voice activation to work, but you can't use half the features. Now with Apple, you also don't get support for finding your headphones if they're lost, because that's something that's tied into the Google ecosystem. But as far as the rest of the experience goes, all the other features work just great. Now you also get support for AAC for high quality audio, but the better experience is going to be over on Android, because on Android you get the full support for LDAC for high quality audio. So if you are using something like Spotify, Deezer, Hi-Fi or Tidal, then you'll get the highest quality that you can. Though I will say that Spotify does support LDAC, it's not as high quality as when using either Deezer or Tidal, which play at a much higher bit rate. Now over on Android, we also have support for Google Assistant or Alexa again, but because you're using the Google Assistant on a Google operating system, you actually get a much better overall experience. Now, in addition to the usual kind of Google Assistant things, now you can interact with the phone level commands like opening apps, sending a message, and particularly when using a Pixel, I find this really powerful with their insanely good voice dictation, which I'm still impressed with today, and that Siri can just get nowhere near. Shush, Siri.
I couldn't find any matching places.
Shush, Siri. It's the equivalent experience of using AirPod Max headphones with an iPhone, but on Android. So I really do think that these XM5s are just the perfect companion to go with any Android phone. Now you also get support for Find My Device, which lets you locate your headphones using Google's Find My Device app. And now let's talk about the audio quality, because whilst I am no audiophile, I do still appreciate a good listening experience. And whilst the flat EQ provided by like the headphones, pretty good across the board, the ability to tweak that to suit will just mean these can be fully customized to your preference. Like personally, I found the highs to be significantly lacking, so you lose a lot of the detail in like more intricate tracks. And whilst you can tone down the bass for yet more like clarity, I personally like to like muddy the bass up by just boosting the bass a little, just to feel the vibrations between your ears. Now, all in all though, due to multiple EQ options and the custom presets which you can save, these headphones definitely give a great listening experience regardless of what music you're listening to, what device you're listening to. And considering these headphones are much cheaper than the AirPod Maxes, in my eyes, these are like fantastic value. Yes, they're still expensive, but you are getting the very best of the best in these headphones. Now for microphone quality, to be honest, they're about the same as the XM4s and the AirPod Maxes, though I would say the XM5s take the lead slightly with better background noise isolation. But where these headphones do perform really well though, is when you're using them to speak whilst outside in more like windy conditions, as they're really do a great job of removing the wind noise. So again, I'd say the XM5s take the absolute win here in terms of microphone quality. But the question we all want to know though is, should you buy these? And the answer does depend. If you have the XM4s, then there's probably not a huge reason to upgrade unless you're happy to spend that money to get the updated design, like the better case and the slightly better noise cancellation on what was already one of the best set of headphones that you could buy before. Now, I actually sold my headphones just before this review for £185, so technically it cost me £195 to upgrade to these XM5s, and personally I didn't think that was a bad deal for the reasons I've already given in this video. Now, if you are in that weird situation of switching over from iPhone to Android and currently own the AirPod Maxes, then I do think that there is definitely reasons to buy these XM5s instead. And if these are going to be a new purchase instead of an upgrade, then if you can afford it, these are definitely worth picking up. Now, I'm going to have a few more videos coming out soon around some of the best Android and iPhone accessories to buy, which will be linked up here, so go and watch those next if they're there. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, bye-bye.